So, it's our 6th episode, the final episode of the Ciderhouse Rebellion Folk Show. It's not getting any warmer out here in space, so that's good, actually.
Yes.
There is, of course, the possibility that there's going to be...
Well, actually, yes. The Christmas special, there has been some doubt, or there was some doubt as to whether this was going to happen, because it's all been around whether or not we could get back to Earth in time for Christmas. It's all been... It's been so complicated, it really has.
Yes. Murray's got a plan.
Yes. Well, we're not going to make it back to Earth this week, so we are going to do a Christmas special.
Yep.
More about that in a bit. But we found a way home. It's really exciting. We found out that Santa, as he is... There he is. As he flies...
That's remarkable. I know he's gone past.
Yeah. As he flies, he obviously just scrapes the Earth's edge of the atmosphere. So we're going to just hook on and he'll pull us back to Earth.
Yeah,
so
clever.
We will be home for Christmas.
Riding a reindeer home. That's the way. Music. I think we should have some music.
Okay. So, as this is now the penultimate episode because of the Christmas special, I thought it was worth mentioning merchandise again, because those of you who have not purchased all your Christmas presents, now's the
time
chance.
left.
Yes, so we have the Untold album, we have the InCider Sessions album, we have the Words of a Fiddler's Daughter album and poem book, and we have
The tune book.
the tune book. Look for the links there, wherever they go.
Yes. So this week we'll be talking to Luke Concannon. It's as near as we're ever going to get to interviewing Ed Sheeran.
So here we are, and with us we have Mr. Luke Concannon. Good day, sir. How are you?
Good day, Murray and Adam. So happy to be with you. And I am today going to be performing some erotic dance for your viewers.
Thank you. That's great. We're going to put that on the trailer.
I don't quite know what to say now.
Well, we could do it as a podcast, I suppose, as a way out of that.
Yes, that's what it is. From now on, this will be audio only, I think.
So the erotic dance then has to be audio, like, I am stroking your
No,
hair.
right. Okie doke. So, moving on.
So it's obviously beautiful, warm weather out there in Vermont, which is bringing on these feelings.
Rumour has it that this is what excessive porridge does to Luke, but
I did have like a daddy bear style bowl of porridge this morning, and it has overwhelmed my system. So I've only
sounds like it.
Yeah, I've only got mental energy to say silly things now.
brilliant. Well, you are the perfect guest for us then, because I don't think Adam and I have really ever said anything sensible. So this should go perfectly. That's what I think.
So I'm wondering, Luke, we had a very brief pre-interview chat that involved the concept of the folk police. And I did see on your website that you claim to have moved to America to follow your love. But I'm wondering if actually there's some truth in the fact that you thought your music was on the boundaries of folk and you had to make an escape.
No.
Okay, it's just a thought.
No, I actually, you know, it is a funny one, isn't it? This whole thing about genre, like, I really love folk, right? I grew up with folk. My dad's an Irish bagpiper, and so, you know, I really enjoyed listening to you two playing together because that's a familiar territory for me. I was thinking a bit about Martin Hayes actually listening to you play.
Oh, no.
Thank you.
Is that
It's a reference, certainly.
is that something that you love, that kind of Celtic playing, but kind of from the heart and from a sort of slightly improvised place?
Yeah. For me, it's very much that Celtic place is a place to start, and it's from the heart. It's improvised, and it's just telling a story from that place, not necessarily trying to recreate exactly a tune as I've heard it, but that tune might be a starting point and then go somewhere.
Yeah, I think for me it's sort of the iconic mixing bowl sort of concept. So I've been involved in bands over the last, whatever it might be, 20 odd years. They've certainly been odd, but over those years I've played in Irish bands, French bands, Scottish bands. So I suppose my influences come from a big mashup of all those styles. But then at the same time you've got the classical influence, because that's my training when I was, early 20s. So it's kind of a whole mishmash of the stuff put together. So I would find it very hard to say what my influences as a specific are, but...
Cider, mostly.
Yeah.
In my
Cider
experience.
is a very good influence, yes, I would agree with that. But yeah, it's always curious, I think, to say where your instincts, because that's where I think Adam and I live a lot on our instincts, with it being improvisatory. A lot of it is coming from somewhere other than pre-planned. We haven't got it written down beforehand, so instinct has a lot to do with it, and I'd find it very hard to define my instincts.
It seems like you really, really keenly listen whenever I see you play, Murray. You seem to be living in your ears.
Yeah. Yes, I would say, I mean, my passion for all my career, whatever I was doing, I'm not really a soloist. So I don't really like doing the thing on my own. I mean, the accordion is kind of made for solo repertoire quite often. You do get a lot of solo
nobody else
accordionists.
particularly wants to play with
no one else wants to play with me. I was waiting for that, Adam. I could have scripted that one. Deary me. But I find for me, I get the most satisfaction, and I also think I play best in reaction to people. So chamber music, playing with singers, playing with other instrumentalists, I find answering questions much more interesting than posing them, which bodes well for an interview, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, actually, I've noticed this has become Luke Concannon's folk show, interviewing Murray Painter and Adam Summerley. So let's turn that around again.
Yes, turn it round, quick.
Going back to you, Luke. You said it starts from a kind of folky stuff, you've heard all that from your dad, but what do you say your music is? How would you describe it?
Yeah, I think for me, spirituality is, I mean, it's a funny word, spirituality, because it's sort of vague, but that seems to be what speaks to me. I really, like growing up, my parents listened to a lot of folk. So, we'd have Dick Gaughan, we'd have Joni Mitchell, we'd have Christy Moore, Planksty, etc. On, and also the other main thing on rotation would be soul music. Would be Otis Redding and James Brown and Aretha. And I think a commonality between those things is a kind of a passion and a sort of, wow, God, it's so hard to put a finger on, but Van Morrison's kind of mystic, passionate singing, and Aretha Franklin's mystic, passionate singing, and then that sense of the ancestors coming through in the music, that's what's just spoken to me, and a sense of we the people are through music visioning a better world. We're visioning like a thriving village. I really like those Imagine Village records, because I think that's kind of the mission, right? We're sort of imagining I don't know, it's creating a vision of something better, and that's certainly what I feel drawn to in music, and particularly drawn to that kind of ecstatic singing. Like I love Qawwali singers from Pakistan, where like Abida Parveen or Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan, where it's kind of like losing yourself in the moment and in devotion to just the music, right?
Yeah,
devotion.
That's a parallel exactly to how we try and make our music. We're trying to take, if you like, your kind of frontal lobe out of it, and the music just comes in the moment, and you are entirely, like you say, devoted to the music in that moment. So it's a creation that you're not trying to put boundaries on or make no pre-planning, and then the music comes. So that's kind of a link to what you're saying, I guess. That makes me wonder if, the idea of genre, which do you think we're all just forced into it by kind of the music industry and trying to give people an easy way of knowing which box of sweets they want to dip into?
I find it so interesting. Like I did a course, do you know Seth Godin? He wrote Purple Cow.
No, I don't.
No, can't say I do.
Well, I did one of his workshops, and he was like, creatives forever have been saying, "Oh, I'm not in a genre. I make my own genre." And he said, the problem with that is that it makes it super hard to communicate with people. Yeah. So he was like, actually know what your genre is and be really good at it, and then be idiosyncratic. But we could make music that is like I hate the Queen, beat her up in the dance, and people do.
They
but
do.
just no one,
Well, thank you. That was Luke Concannon, everybody. Yes.
but no one listens to that music, right? There is music that is that genreless, but people don't care about it because they can't make sense of it. So there has to be enough. We have to be enough in a tradition of some sort, even if that tradition is like, you know, dubstep. It has to be, but we just have to. I don't know. It's like
people have to have a starting point, I guess, to understand from where to reference you.
It is an interesting one though, because I completely agree with that as the start, but then it gets where people go too far the other extreme and start saying you're not allowed to do that because you are such and such a style, and that does not fit within the boundaries of that, and that's where I feel there's a danger of going too far the other extreme. So I suppose, like all these things, it's a balance. So knowing roughly where you are, absolutely, that helps us define and understand what we're doing. But I don't want to be too hidebound. The last thing I would want would be a track to be stopped because, oh no, you can't use that. That's not allowed. That doesn't fit within your predefined style.
Right, so it sounds like you're just really wanting there to be freedom for people to be themselves, rather than be like taken out by the folk police and.
Yeah, it's a difficult one. It's just so hard to know, though, isn't it? Because it is also about connecting with people, and people have to have some way of knowing if they even want to connect with you. So being able to be, like you said, be in a genre and move, kind of stretch it, expand it, is easier for people to understand than just wandering through the world, especially now with so much music so easily available.
I find this question so interesting because it's like we exist on a spectrum between there's the really out there artists, I don't know, like someone like Walt Whitman, who had a kind of a sense of vocation where he wanted to create a language that expressed the kind of the nation, to make an American poetry that hadn't been made yet. And so he made this. His life was a kind of vocation to put language, an almost sort of timeless, like great art vision, you know, that someone like William Blake had. And so that was his thing, and he didn't make any money off his art in his lifetime, and yet.
But it's still art, isn't it?
Well, then he changed the world, and maybe it's that sort of truly art, right? It's sort of living on, and someone like Mary Oliver, the greatest contemporary poet in America, I think, totally is in that lineage. And so there's that sort of way of making art, which doesn't really have much of an eye on the contemporary market.
No.
And then there's people, I don't know, like the Beatles, who somehow managed to kind of do both.
Yeah, and then there are the people who are just filling the right noises for the category, if you like. They know where to fit and they know how to make it work, and people go to it, but it's not maybe going to be as profound in the end. It's not necessarily going to change the world, but it allows them to make a living and people to have fun. Is all fine as well. It's not a judgment. Yeah. What do you find? We setting up for these series of interviews. I asked my family what kind of things might be interesting, and they had a few quite interesting questions, maybe, and some that are just obvious but interesting to hear. So, performing? What do you find the hardest thing about performing? Oh, that's such a good question. Who asked that in your family? I think that was my daughter.
Sounds like a Jessie question. That does.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it?
And does she perform?
She does.
Well, she does actually. Yeah. She's a poet, turns out, or a wordsmith, or a spoken word artist, or something. But I guess she's done all the drama stuff since she was a kid as well. She doesn't seem to have any problems with performing, as far as I can tell, but that's probably why she's interested. By the way, with this whole filming myself thing here, I don't quite know what to do. I'm sort of trying to smile at the camera. That would be nice. Everybody will like that. I'm smiling at the camera.
Hello, camera. Right, after 3, everybody smile. 1, 2, 3.
We'll see if
Excellent. I will make sure I cut that together. That'll be lovely.
I love this question. So, so what is it that's difficult about performing? One thing I find is that it's so vulnerable, right? It kind of feels pretty unnatural to stand up and say, right, I want everyone to be quiet and listen to me for the next, however long. And it's really out on a limb, which is also what I like about it. It's very adventurous.
Yeah.
But I suppose the hardest thing is that sense of holding the room,
mm-hmm.
and the responsibility of that. It's a leadership position, and that's kind of lonely.
Yeah.
And also, I suppose like the hardest thing is that I want to give people something extraordinary, and that's almost impossible.
Yeah, extraordinary isn't always on tap, is it?
And I think that is the vocation of the artist. Like that's why I do it, because the times where I've gotten something extraordinary from, growing up listening to U2 records as a teenager and my mind being blown, or whoever you want to go to, James Brown or Tom Waits, and it being so, it destroying my idea of the ordinary and giving me inspiration. I want to give that to people, and yet it's not in my control. So
yeah.
I think the hardest thing about performing is the best thing, which is that it's like being a lover. You just have to totally give yourself to it, and you don't know whether they're going to come.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. I did have a really nice, good question before you said that, and that's wiped that completely out of my head. I know what I was going to say. Okay, so yeah, you get that satisfaction. Your role in performing is as the leader, as the having that moment on stage. But over the last, whatever it must be now, 6-9 months, presumably, that stage hasn't been there. So how has performing for you changed, if it has, or evolved, during these curious times? How have you found performing to the camera rather than to the audience?
Well, remember we can't see him at the moment, but he is doing his erotic dancing as we speak, probably.
As a young man, like in my 20s, I was in a duo with someone super driven,
mm-hmm.
and, actually slightly insane. We would get in from a gig at 3 a.m. and he would get up at 7, run for 10 miles, do 4 hours of practice, promote the next gig, and then get back in the car. And all the way to the next gig, he would listen to music to kind of download inspiration. He'd get to the venue, set up, sound check. Everyone in the venue would just have their jaws on the floor being like, this guy's a fucking animal. and then he would go backstage and practice until we went on stage, at which point everyone would then have their jaws on the floor again. This is John Parker and his lovely days. And then after the gig, we would stand at the starting table, and there were quite a lot of periods of our career where people would come up to me and go, "You're so lucky to have John in your band." And it would just be so humbling. I'd just be like, "Yeah, I know." He's the ridiculously talented one, and I'm just quite good at making people sing along with me or something. But so I had that experience in my 20s of gigging a lot with someone very, very driven. Mm-hmm. And so every night we would be pouring ourselves out on stage, and it would be really intense and wonderful. And had a kind of a service ethic. So it was like every step ground and it's deeper into service, giving from the heart. We after 2 or 3 songs, we'd be totally covered in sweat and feeling the music coming through us rather than just from us. And so that was an amazing thing to do in my 20s. And then now as a 42-year-old, I don't gig nearly as much as I did back then. And I kind of find that connection more by going and sitting next to a river every morning for 2 hours and writing a song.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I find it more that kind of intense connection to music and actually to people, because hopefully they will hear the song at some point that I'm writing. I actually find that the place to really connect these days. And then just the other way is just the spade work of getting the music in front of people on, getting the video out there and
absolutely,
etc. So I guess, it has changed a lot now. And you will find that you'll ask me a question and my answer will be extremely tangential.
That's cool. So tell me about the puppet in the new video.
Basically, it's a super honest song, about losing myself watching cage fighting or whatever all night on YouTube when I want to. I want to get up at 5 and write songs, but sometimes I just lose myself on the internet. And so I played it to this amazing Emmy-winning filmmaker who I found after a lot of looking for filmmakers.
Right.
And she immediately was like, we could do this with a puppet. Like, just to show that sometimes we are kind of puppets on the strings of Facebook or of our desires or whatever. And it just kind of blew my mind. So I just let her run with it and she ran with it, and thank God.
Yeah, it's very cool.
Did you get to keep any of the puppets, or?
I didn't. I worked with a marketing dude, and he was like, what we should do is, because for folk who haven't seen the video, the song's "Doing Nothing." The song is called "Doing Nothing" by Concannon, and in it, there's a puppet of Ed Sheeran, because Ed Sheeran used to be a work experience kid in his Loppy days, and he's a friend and a co-writer. So his puppet's in the video, and so the marketing people were like, you should get a competition up on all the Ed Sheeran fan sites, like, you can win this puppet if you sign my mailing list, right? Like thinking, and so I said to the puppeteer, could I buy the puppet off you? And she was like, I make bespoke puppets for $1,400, so we're not going to have a puppet.
Okay.
What did you like about the video?
I actually I liked the song, which is great, otherwise it would be harder, but I loved the song. I liked the combination of having the puppet, which I didn't quite know what it was saying. It was clearly saying something unusual and just puts it into a different space. And I loved the fact, I liked possibly the bit I liked best was suddenly when you saw the puppeteer.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. That moment was lovely.
Just a really special moment. I thought it was great.
Right, when you sort of see behind the scenes,
exactly.
It's not just...
There's a moment when you're playing and the puppet's puppeting, and then you can see her moving it as well. That's the bit I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's lovely. In fact, people will be able to watch this because we will be showing it in this show.
Yes,
so,
and what do you hope for from these interviews?
It'd be good if people are getting some insight from some people who already know you, get to hear something they might not have heard from anyone else, because maybe talking to musicians is different. For other people who don't know you yet, they listen to the interview, see the video and think, wow, that's great. For us, it's actually just nice to be meeting people after 4 or 5 months where that just hasn't been happening.
Yeah, I mean, we all have those conversations, don't you, when you're on tour or the like, and you play in a festival and, there's such and such. Luke Concannon's playing in the same gig tonight. Oh, brilliant. And we'd have a chinwag in the green room or wherever. And it's those conversations that I think really missed. The the chance meetings or bumping into somebody that, I saw you, what was it, 18 months ago? And that was kind of the germ of the idea, sort of musician chit-chat backstage. And it's lovely, and it's always such a positive... Well, it's mostly a positive energy.
I'm going to say, mostly positive, which brings me... I know you've got to go before too long, Luke, because you've got a meeting, but there's one question which is definitely a backstage one. Your worst ever performance moment, something that you are also prepared to mention, because there might be some that you're not. but the thing you look back on and think, oh my God.
As long as it isn't this interview.
You know, what comes up for me is that we, as teenagers, John Parker and I, John from Nisloppy, we formed a band at the age of 13 to play a school gig. And it went really well. We had a music teacher was our lead guitarist, so we had like a band leader who was an adult who could help us. You know, we were 13. We were 13, and we had 2 weeks to put a band together for our first ever gig. And so then we got confidence, and we were like, okay, great. Well, we're going to play the big gig with all the big kids. You know, all like the 18-year-old, like thrash metal and rock kids. And and you know, we were 13, and so we started rehearsing for that, and we got on stage, and the drummer didn't show up, and the PA broke, so we plugged everybody into different amps. So I think I was singing through an electric bass amp with a mic plugged into it.
Oh, lovely.
And we were just surrounded by angry teenage peers who looked at us as like really little, really uncool, terrible, annoying teenagers. And we just had to get through that half-hour set. And my parents were there, and then I think afterwards, one of the really hard kids in my year said, don't sing again until your balls are dropped.
Nice.
Lovely. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, that was a good baptism of fire. We were extremely prepared for the next gig.
I'm not going to ask the obvious question, but no. Brilliant. So what's next for you? Where can people see, hear, follow, etc.? What are you doing next? What's next?
What's next is we put Doing Nothing out on the 2nd October, and then on the 6th of November, the next single, Your Heart Is In My Chest.
Okay, cool.
And we made a video with a friend for that, which I'm really proud of. My wife, Stephanie, the song's about meeting her, and she's in it with me. And at points, I thought it was going to be kind of like Chris Christopherson, 70s, like romantic pop video, and we could put like Vaseline on the lens. And
I'm glad you said lens. I was getting worried there for a minute. But
it would be like, my endless love. And the camera could be spinning around the two of us on top of a mountain with like doves flying. And Stephanie could have a really long pink dress. And I could have like a tux with huge lapels.
Oh, lovely.
But anyway, no, so that song, and the album Ecstatic Bird in the Burning is out in February, and I'm just going to be releasing a song a month till then.
Brilliant.
Cool. Well, we'll any links you can give us before then, we'll make sure with this video. I think this was Murray's favourite question, so I'm going to ask it quickly.
Go for it.
If you, money's no object, reality's no object, you're not trying to achieve anything specific by it for a future career or anything like that, but just something as an absolute blast to do, what would you want to do as a gig?
My friend said, if you want to change the culture, throw a better party. And I love that. I love that idea. So the better party would be, I suppose it'd be kind of like a festival, maybe a little bit like How the Light Gets In, where there's real kind of listening concerts where people really, really do just, there's those magic gigs where people are really present and they deeply listen. So there would be those. And then there would be settings where people could like meditate and just get renewed and refreshed. And maybe it is just How the Light Gets In, because there was local amazing food there, and then there was conversational spaces where I could go and listen to someone like Alistair McIntosh, a sort of great thinker, writer, campaigner, in dialogue with. Just hear some brilliant people that are nourishing, and then be able to run through the Welsh hills. So maybe my dream gig is How the Light Gets In.
Okay, cool.
There we go. Well, we like that. Achievable goals.
We do.
Marvellous. Well, thank you very much, Luke. It has been an absolute pleasure to sit and talk with you today. Thank you so much for agreeing to come on our little show.
We'll look forward for the video.
We look forward to the video with slight nervousness. And we hope that we can at some point actually meet in the flesh, whether it be in Vermont or over here or wherever, who knows, in the future. That would be lovely.
I'm not doing nothing at all with my life. I'm watching cage fighting, comedy shorts all night. Doing nothing at all that I'm called to. Not living the life I was born to, 'cause I'm scared of my gift. I'm not doing nothing at all with my life. I'm looking up ex-girlfriends with Facebook shining bright, reading about Ed Sheeran, thinking I inspired him. Easier than taking the risk of being as bold as him. Doing nothing at all that I'm called to. Not living the life I was born to, 'cause I'm scared of my gift. Oh, I'm never going to get anywhere. Oh, I'm never going to sing my song. Oh, I'll call out to my friends, and I'll start to work with them, and I'll get myself back on the road again. Start giving our all to what we're called to. Living the life we were born to, sharing our gifts,
So we were nearly, Murray and I, going to be in Vermont, actually, I've remembered. In
January.
January to do a gig. But we're not going to be.
No,
so we will not be able to sample the Vermont beer or anything else.
No.
Yes.
Oh, well.
Never mind.
So, I'm sorry to say that's our last special guest, I can't tell you about another special guest, although this might be the end of season 1. I am very happy to say that there is going to be
a season
2
in the spring.
So keep your eyes out. Facebook, YouTube, email, our website, all the other stuff.
Email?
Well, we might manage it, you never know. Keep your eyes open for that. We're looking forward to it, certainly. But it's not the last. It's not the last thing that you're going to get from us. There are a couple of things.
And it's not even true that we don't have any special guests anymore. We have the most special guests. I am going to be interviewing Murray Granger.
And actually, now you mention this, I'm going to be interviewing Mr. Adam Summerhays.
Yes. So you see,
so the Christmas special, it really is special.
And of course, there'll be a lot more from Jeremy Bird.
Outtakes from the filming of all of this.
Yes.
Oh, we're going to have a lot of fun. So, all sorts of things to look forward to. Same time next week for our Christmas special.
But there's a cider at midnight on Sunday. Ish.
Night. Monday morning.
Yes, that.
One of those things. And for the very last time...
Until next week, when you're going to see a lot more of it.
Jeremy
Bird.
I am afraid I have no time for fans this week. Yes, I am too busy. Recording. Yes, me. I, Jeremy Bird, have written and perform. Well, I am going to perform a Christmas song. Yes, me. And it will be very difficult keeping a career as a singer when I am Prime Minister, but I will manage. The good news is that next week you will finally hear some music on the Folk Show. My song, not like Silly Adams and Murray's. Yes!